Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
I'm doing good. Where are you? You're in a different background today.
Okay, this is funny, y'all. I'm at a studio and I told the guy I wish I could sing instead of just do a podcast, but I can't. So we're just I'm using it because I'm in Montana and I couldn't trust the internet up on the mountain. So I came here where he has fantastic internet. So anyway, good to see you, Dana. I'm super excited. I met Jeff Dudan at an event I was at recently, and I came home and said to Dana, we got to have this guy on the podcast. So Jeff, if you would, we always like to start with you were born and then what happened.
Yeah. So, the earth cooled, then lots of things happened. Then I was born. And I don't know where you exactly want me to take it, but I grew up in Chicago, middle child, which, explains a lot to people who know what that means. Was a high school athlete, chased a football around for a little while, got pretty entrepreneurial while I was in college, starting a college painting business, and then got a call from one of our student painters that was in the Hurricane Andrew in South Florida, helping the people recover from there. So cut my teeth in the insurance restoration business in the early 90s. Started the business in 94 that I would sell some 24 years and 11 months later, called AdvantaClean. We're a insurance restoration, remediation, environmental services business. We had 240 locations. About halfway along the way, franchised it. So we were a direct business up until around 2006, and then really committed to a franchise model. So we sold all of our company stores in 2006, 7, and 8 under a franchise model. In 2009, launched the marketplace and sold the business January 1st, 2019. And since then have become more broad in business in general, but also in franchising. So I've gotten involved with a lot of emerging brands, also have launched some health and wellness brands, fitness, infrared sauna. And then my day job is building a platform called Homefront Brands, where we currently have 6 brands underneath it. And they're all property service brands like Top Rail Fence, Designery Kitchen and Bath, Window Hero, Exterior House Washing, things like that.
Interesting.
Wow.
So yeah, I told you
that was quick.
It's
like
that was
the fastest I've ever done that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we always say, depending on how old you are, you need to go fast or do Cliff Note version on you were born and then what happened, right?
Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit. So what made you interested? You're honestly, Dana and I are franchisees of Keller Williams Realty, which is a franchisor for real estate. So it was very interesting. What made you become the franchisor of so many? Because you have 5. I think one you said was the fencing, one was in mosquito spraying. What are the other 3? Window washing.
Yeah. So Window Hero is exterior house washing, gutter cleaning, window cleaning, things like that. We have Yard Patrol Pros, which is mosquito flea and tick spraying. Also, we're doing weed spraying and then irrigation system repair. So everything that happens in the yard. So the Yard Patrol piece of it. We've got a really cool brand called Temporary Wall Systems, which is rentable containment system. So if you're in a hospital or a university or an airport and you're doing construction and you see those temporary walls that are put up, we have a business that rents those, and we're bringing new products to market there. So, and then we have a new brand that I just closed on Friday. I really can't disclose, not ready to make the big reveal here, but again, in the property services space. So anything around the built environment, anything around a home or a facility, we're going to bring owners to provide products and services in those environments.
Okay. So why be the franchisor? Where did you get that interest? What made you be interested in it? And because I know years ago, I had worked with Gary Keller on some stuff, and we were looking at taking, the real estate agents that's very successful practice. And at the time we looked at franchising, we looked at licensing, and it was all kind of complicated right at the time to do that. So what made you even go down that path? Did you know somebody? Tell us how that happened.
Well,
to
when
be
I
the
was a
franchisor?
24-year-old guy running around South Florida after a hurricane, getting off of work on Friday, heading down to the Keys, probably living my best life, actually, when you're in your early 20s and you're in South Florida. And, but what I recognized was inside of that hurricane response that the majority of the businesses were either franchises or dealerships. There's very few independent contractors of scale down there. So I knew that the industry that I had chosen for my first career was heavily franchised. And I looked at buying a franchise. I looked at joining a dealership. But at the end of the day, I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do this myself. Now, it took a long time. So we started the business in 94, and we really, until 2004, we just grew a direct response business. But we were national and even international. We were a government contractor. We worked in VA hospitals. We worked in military bases. We worked in schools. So we were doing jobs Hawaii, Canada, and the Caribbean. We were doing work in Puerto Rico. And of course, over that time, responding to any disaster that made landfall in the United States. So we grew a great business. We developed a deep expertise inside of that. I thought we put together a pretty good culture based on the challenging environments in which we work. And then when it took long. Everything always takes longer than you think it's going to.
Yeah.
But I had my eye on franchising from the very beginning, and ultimately that was the path that we took.
Interesting. So 5 at one time, isn't that? I mean, I'm thinking, I have to focus on one region to build it. I can't imagine the dynamics, and I'm sure it's great, talented people, but the dynamics of having 5 and in the process of finding those great, because they're in franchising, it's all about having the great operators, right?
It is.
Yeah, that was Linda, you were walking like right into a couple of questions that I had already. This is going to be such an interesting conversation. Because Linda, what I think what you're going to say is like one at a time is a lot. So going to next and the next. So Jeff, how do you decide when to go to the next? Like, how do you decide after the one that I heard most was mosquito, because I don't know if you all are in Charleston, South Carolina or not, but we need you down here. If you're not, we're getting eat alive right now. I can't even walk outside. I'm like drenched in mosquito repellent. But how did you decide to go from that to like the next one and then the next one?
We are in Charleston, by the way. So
nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead, Google up Yard Patrol and jump on. I'll get you a free introductory treatment.
Nice. Love it. Thanks.
Yeah. So, Linda, I know you're in strategic coach, and one of the things they'll talk about is 10X is easier than 2X.
Yeah.
And, we did this with great intention. And we really knew that if we were going to build, and our vision was, after I sold the business and after I had put together a family office and we had a small team of people investing and advising inside and outside of the franchise industry, I really looked back at the property service space, and probably applies to real estate as well. There is no obsolescence in property services. We think property services is one of the most durable niches that you can be in. There's 72 categories of franchising. I'd gotten involved in many of those, helping founders and emerging people try to figure out what their franchise program looked like and helping them resource those along the way. But I kept coming back to this property service niche and saying, look, there's going to be 100 million more people in this country by 2050. There's an increased migration in this country. People can work from anywhere now. So people are moving west to east, north to south, cold to warm, whatever it is they want to do. And anytime somebody leaves an area and goes to a new area, they are going to they're going to need repairs done to their houses. And there's a housing shortage right now, especially in some of the hotter markets that are fast growing markets. And so as they continue to build new homes, they're going to need new facilities. They're going to need new hospitals, need new schools. So You will never find a Homefront Brands nestled between a Blockbuster and a Curves because of obsolescence or because the trend went another way. Property services are going to, if you want to get into a business and you want to put your shoulder to it and really blow up in your community in a positive way, show up in your community in a positive way, you can build a great property service business and you can grow it year over year over year over year. So we look back at it and said, all right, well, if we're going to go back into operating again, this would have been in the 2021, 22. We said, well, what do we want to do? And if we were going to be the most responsible franchise platform that we could possibly imagine, what are the things that we would need to do to achieve that? Who were the people that we need? What was the technology, enterprise level technology that we need? What kind of brands would we need? And so all of these things had to be right, because at the end of the day, we want to attract a smaller number of very large franchisees. We want sophisticated investors. We want people that have accumulated some wealth and understand that businesses are an incredibly important part of a balanced portfolio. Just like real estate, businesses are a great hedge against inflation. More and more, I mean, we think it's tragic that, I mean, it's for kids now to be able to get into a starter home is more expensive than it's ever been. Stock market's at an all-time high. So where do people go to where they can create equity inside of something? Because cash is king, but equity is the kingdom. So as people, we wanted to give people the opportunity to be a big part of the small business community. That's anywhere between 46 and 60% of our GDP. And we want people to create financial security, generational wealth on Main Street, USA. And people do that through businesses. So that was, as I was looking around the country and saying, wow, there's really an attack on our middle class. And, you don't have to be a big historian to know that anytime that all the wealth goes to one side of the bell curve and none of the wealth goes to the other side of the bell curve, that those countries become destabilized. So making sure that people and families have the ability to, work hard and create assets for themselves. That was something that we really wanted to be a part of. And we knew we wanted to do it in a way that right off the bat, we could attract the kind of quality franchise owners and franchise partners that we were looking for. So we really needed to have an array of brands that all had the kind of unit economics, the top line potential, the market fragmentation, the ability to understand who the customers are and to be able to acquire them. So we had to put together this portfolio of businesses where we could, where I could, number one, attract the type of executive team that knew how to build a multi-billion-dollar, multi-brand franchise platform. So we went out and hired people that had done that and been there. And then to attract the kind of franchise owners that would say, you know what, I think I can get this here. I think between these brands, one or more of these brands, I think I can do something meaningful and build a transactable asset where they can, make an impact in their generations and the generations down the road. So that's what we did.
Dana and I talk a lot about what the people have that are listening have to be the person that earns the right for an opportunity. So what are the key characteristics that y'all are looking for when you award a franchise? Because I think opportunity follows talented people and is always something talented people can take advantage of. But what are those traits or the characteristics that you're looking for?
Not an exact science, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's you can't play God with people. It's very difficult. Even though we have a 66-day process and we do spend a lot of time with these candidates, it's very hard to really discern how big their heart is and how big their motor is and how strong their persistence is and all those types of things. But we do some screening and we use some tools to understand who people are, and not necessarily that a tool is going to say we pass on this person or we accept this person, because it's an awards process. They have to jump through the hurdles and they have to be a good fit in a lot of different ways. But more, we understand now how we're going to have to work with this person. And if, we're a big learning management company, it's one of the things that we do best. We've invested heavily in learning management systems to make sure that not only the franchise owners, but the people that they bring to work with them have access to those tools. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're looking for people that are, that have a growth mindset. They're up to something and going somewhere. There's a real compelling need that if they are successful in their Homefront brand, that it will be material for them in terms of what it means for them inside of their life. If they have some prior experience in business building and, being an entrepreneur, we think that's always helpful. And then we look for people that can resolve conflict in a healthy manner. Because at the end of the day, like, business is full contact. It's hard. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a lemonade stand. It's hot. You got ice to deal with. You might need a permit, whatever. I mean, there are always things to deal with in business. And we need to make sure that our franchise owners, we can stay in the pocket with them, and that, we can battle that together. So, it's a combination of those types of things. I would say it's harder to know when you see it, but it's a little easier to know it when it's not a good fit.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
We'll pass on people for a variety of reasons, and but it is not an exact science.
Yeah. Well, and we have a great process that we put people through, and we always say it's still only about 25%. You got to go with past history. So I'm assuming that y'all have a particular process that you put people through. And then also you said y'all are a great learning company. We also consider ourselves as a training and consulting company that's very thinly disguised as a real estate company. We do a lot of classroom type training and stuff. Is your training and things like that more on video? Are they in the classroom? What are when you say tools, learning tools for your people, what are they?
2 years ago, before we ever even thought about bringing on a franchise owner onto the platform, we invested in a really great learning and development executive from a 5,000 seat company who had been building learning management platforms for 20 years. And then we gave them all the tools, all the technology, and all the content to build learning modules specifically around all the different roles and, in each of the different brands. So before you have double-digit online training. So one of the things that we aspire for our franchise owners is that they start well and so that it goes well. Very seldom has anything not started well and it gone well. Think about any failed relationship you've been in. It didn't really start that great, right?
Yeah.
So getting ahead of the learning curve by having 20 or 30 hours of really solid online learning management before they come to training that is proctored and scored and all of that kind of stuff, then continuing through the training process and with them for the first 90 days, because people are going to behave forever how the habits they establish in the first 90 days. So making sure that we have high intensity engagement, lots of focus, in-person regional meetings, visits and all of that kind of stuff, just to make sure that to the greatest extent possible. And, oh, by the way, front loading all of the customer acquisition activities so that even if it's 45 days before they come to training, we are having them do in-market referral development, introduction, the things that they can do so that the greatest chance possible that they achieve revenue. I mean, we've had people sitting in training, and we do some interesting things like with our kitchen design concept, the designery, we have teledesign. So they can actually go out, bring samples, do a measurement before they even come to training and before their showroom is done. That's the one of our brands that actually is a physical location.
Wow. Yeah.
And they can actually sell a kitchen, a bathroom, or a closet installation using our teledesign service that sits in basically our call center, which we call our sales center, and get trading right away. Because, I mean, why would you wait until they come through training and then they go home to start the lead generation, customer acquisition activities? So again, pushing everything forward as we can to make sure that they start well so they go well.
Interesting.
I've got a couple questions real quick too. So Jeff, it sounds to me like you're a really great builder and visionary. Are you also a great maintainer and sustainer too, or do you leverage that out and just
Well,
find great people?
yeah, I'm not sure, well, I guess we'll be the judge if I'm great at it or not, but history will tell. But yeah, I mean, so early on in my career, I did everything. So I could do the accounting. I can do the bookkeeping. I can do the sales. I could do the estimating. I've got a pretty, and being a contractor, you're also a lawyer, by the way, because you're always dealing with contracts. And so you have to have deep knowledge of all the areas of the business. For this particular build, though, there's no way that I can possibly do that. Yeah. So we really, we use scaling up as a methodology. There are some traction elements to it. So for people that aren't aware what that scaling up is, Vern Harnish's strategy process, and with all the meetings and the metrics and the KPIs and all that. We are a big data first company. So all of the data from all brands and all franchise owners flow into a single data lake. So we have relative dashboards across everything. So having good data, numbers don't lie, but people do. Yeah. So really starting from a point of truth around data, it really helps you make better decisions more easily. But from the perspective, I had to approach this build because of the scale of it, kind of with the Branson mentality, which was, he would say, cast a vision that is absolutely clear, that there is, it is absolutely clear what you're up to, where you're going, who the customer is, what you're trying to accomplish, and then find the very, very best people, which he's notorious for finding the number 2 guy at the cruise lines to build his cruise line or the airline or whatever. So he goes out and finds the best people. By the way, who not how, I came to that late, but I adopted that technology. And then the third thing is you got to give people resources. You can't hire an incredible executive and not give them everything that they need. Yeah. I mean, if they're a great executive, they're not going to do it all either. They're going to find resources. They're going to find their who's. They're going to find the advertising agencies and marketing agencies and technologists, and they're going to hire a competent staff. So, I had to take that approach. I mean, I really didn't have a choice. We aspire, by 2037 to impact 2,500 businesses, to create 5,000 millionaires, to give 1 million books to children, and to donate $100 million to charity. And, you've got to create a dream that's big enough for other people's dreams to fit inside of it. And for us, that's big enough and fast enough so that we think we can, if we get halfway there, I wouldn't call it a complete failure.
So I have a question. When someone has your franchises, and they decide later that, can they sell that franchise? I was talking to a lady from Strategic Coach the other day that had McDonald's franchises, and I didn't know this about McDonald's, but she said that when she's ready to retire, they just give the franchise back. There is no asset. So literally, it's kind of a cash flow job, technically.
Chick-fil-A is that way.
Chick-fil-A, I was going to say, I think that's the same way Chick-fil-A is. Yeah.
Well, she was. I mean, I'm sorry. I said McDonald's and I meant Chick-fil-A. Sorry,
that's
she was
right.
Chick-fil-A. Sorry, Chick-fil-A. That was not a good compliment. But what about your franchises? Do they have the opportunity to sell it? Is it an asset that they're building? Is it a cash flow?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and almost all franchises are that way. Chick-fil-A is kind of an anomaly, but I think they're doing okay.
Yeah, they are.
$20 billion or something like that. But that's a different model. And look, that's a testament to having high standards. I mean, you sit on a waiting list for 5 years.
Yeah.
Then you go work in a store, you work every job for 6 months. And at the end of that, they can still tell you no.
Yeah.
And then they'll come to you one day out of the blue and say, you got 3 days, here's 3 locations, yes or no.
Yeah.
And you move to wherever it is and you become an owner.
But
or it's really, you become a partner, because I think you pay like $5,000.
Yeah.
It is. It's $5,000. People do rise to your lowest standards, in all honesty. Okay, you said the word award your franchises, and that was always our philosophies too. We're always willing to award the franchise. We're not selling it to anybody. That's in the whole time that I was building the Ohio Valley. But my question to you is, do you guys go out and get like a headhunter to get someone to do the franchise sales and then just teach them the process to award? Because the reason we didn't really go with franchise sales people is because that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to sell a franchise. They're not trying to award a franchise. So how do you make that work with the award the franchise as your value, and then I'm assuming you go out and hire sales people that have sold franchises before.
Franchising is very competitive in sales. There's over 4,000 actively growing franchise brands. There's over 800,000 franchise establishments. 1 out of every 8 people in this country work by or with some sort of a franchise or dealership operation. So it's a huge part of it. And if you don't find great quality franchise owners, franchise partners to join your team, then like that's your business, because what happens in the 4 walls of that franchise location is it's 95% of the value of your entire platform. So if you have owners that don't show up, don't do what they're supposed to do, don't follow the plan, don't hustle, then that degrades the value of the overall system. So we have to have a very aggressive group of people that go out and compete for these franchise owners, because these are diamonds in the rough. There are people that have many times we have $50 million, $30 million net worth owners in our system. That's rare, but like we've got them. And but we have a lot of high net worth people. So these are the types of owners that many franchise companies would like to have. So we do that in-house. We have a team, including legal, of about 12 people including leadership and what we call development directors, which are the people that concierge people through the process. They don't sell them anything. It's an education process. It's an award process. They've got to go through and do things along the way. We got a group of development agents that screen the calls on the front end, and do a preliminary screening of the candidate to allow them to enter the process and get hooked up with a development agent. Then of course we got legal and paralegal on the back end of that. So, but it's they have to come in, they have to spend a day and a half here with us. They've got to go through and check all the boxes the entire way through. So there's a lot of places where they can just, at any point, they can just say, you know what, it's not for me, and vice versa, and all of that. But we do that in-house, and I like it because it's a bad placement for us. It just eats your time and energy and your money, because it's, you're spending, because by the way, we're not going to spend 80% of our time on the bottom 10%. We're not going to do it. Like if you're not willing to do the work, and if you're not willing to follow the plan. And I heard something great the other day is creators don't complain and complainers don't create.
Yeah, so true.
And it's like, if you're just looking for everything that's wrong, and there are certain backgrounds that would tell you that these people are going to come in and deconstruct everything you're doing and send you a 13-page report on your systems, as opposed to going out and meeting customers. So, you have to, people are going to work to their comfort zone, and, they're going to, but that doesn't mean they can't make it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they can't be a great owner. But
I think also you have to have good standards to get people out, because it hurts the whole brand if someone's not doing it. I noticed there's a Soul Cycle in my area, and they didn't give that franchisee very long at all. They yanked that franchise within a year.
Wow.
And they lost their franchise. So I think sometimes you got to almost figure out in advance, if they are the wrong person, how do I get out of business with them as quick as possible?
Yeah. And for us, it's good because we're a relatively low cost franchise. If you're going to do a Soul Cycle, I don't know what the footprint is there, but you could easily spend with real estate costs now and a lease guarantee. You could spend $800,000 to $1 million committed to open that up. And you think you're going to have 10 years to recover that money and to make a profit. And after a year, they're out. So like somebody's getting a variety of people are losing money inside of that. For us, it's only one of our business has a location. It's Class B space. It's small. It's not expensive upfit. There's no equipment or anything in there. But the rest of them are all remote businesses. So if somebody figures out that they've made a mistake, or we've figured out that somebody's made a mistake, we can exit people with honor. We have exceptionally high demand. Like we have a massive pipeline of people that are trying to get into Homefront Brands right now. And it might be that their market's sold out. Many times people will come in on our temporary walls brand or our top row fence brand, and I'm sorry, but Dallas is sold out for both of those brands. And they're like, well, I've been looking at Homefront Brands. I've been listening to Jeff, your podcast On the Homefront with Jeff Dudan. Over 2 million views and downloads in the last 6 months. We just added up.
Wow.
So
awesome.
Top 25 on Apple Podcasts. And so a lot of people kind of get into the slipstream of it. And then as they do their homework, they're like, wow, this is something I want to do. But then they engage with us and they find out that their brand that they were interested in isn't available. They'll move to another brand just because they want to be inside of they'll consider another brand because they want to be inside of it. So because of this demand, if it comes that, we will do anything to exit an owner and to try to get them as whole as they possibly can and just make it an oopsie. Hey, I scratched this itch. You know what? Wasn't for me. I'm going to go back to corporate America. And I mean, we'll do everything we possibly can to make it, a net zero or pain-free experience for them to get out of it. And fortunately, because of the demand, we're able to do that in most cases.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Jeff, I know you kind of mentioned scaling up, but you just have such like a vast knowledge of experience, and it's so cool listening to all the things that you've built. And one of my questions was, what do you think is the key to scaling quickly?
If it doesn't work at one unit, don't grow it.
Yeah.
You got to nail it before you scale it. And expanding a defective product is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So making sure that you really you understand and you've properly documented all of the processes. And then from a scale perspective, I mean, it comes right back down to people, process, and technologies. Making sure that you're using data to make decisions. Sometimes what looks like a genius attack, and you say, let's go this direction, but it was really kind of an unfounded genius attack. So rolling things out in a pilot, if you, let's say we want to roll something out to a franchise network, we're going to roll it out to kind of like the marketing play, Linda, we were talking about. We're going to roll it out to our best opportunity, our best franchisee that has the biggest chance of success with it. From there, if they're successful with it, we'll roll it out then to 5 people in a limited rollout to make sure that we understand, we fully understand what's involved in success here. And then, you roll it out to the next 20. But by the time you do it to that, everybody's heard about it. So they're calling and saying, can I have it? Can I have it? So then it's a pull into the system. But it's like anything else, right? If something's, if something's free or foist upon them, then, or it's not their idea, then they're going to not get behind it. So hey, I've just paid for all this free stuff for you guys. Well, then they might not even open the email. Versus if they have to really look at it and consider, would I pay X dollars for this every month? Is this worth it? I'm willing to make that investment in myself. So it's really the discipline of data, and then the discipline of good testing and good proof of concept that allows companies to scale well. Because the problem is, if you make a mistake and you roll something out en masse, now all you're going to be doing is being distracted with unwinding that, and you're not going to be able to roll out the next thing.
So true. Yeah. And I feel like then you're on the defense instead of being on offense with what you're trying to do.
100%.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That was a great answer.
Okay. Well, Jeff, first I want to hear, how can people find your podcast? What's the name of it again? How can they find out about more about your franchises that you have? And then Dana, you want to ask your final question? I'll ask mine.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Okay. That's Jeff Dudan, Dudan. You can Google me up on the internet. I think the internet's going to be very popular one day, so I encourage everybody to try it. You can, anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We're top. Apple's probably our best platform right now because you don't have to look at me. So you can go to Apple. It's just On the Homefront with Jeff Dudan. We're top 25 entrepreneurship, top 100 in business. Really some short form content if you're running out to get coffee, but then we've got some episodes, an hour and a half, hour, 46 minutes, lots of semi-famous people, but always interesting. On the Homefront podcast with Jeff Dudan. And then you can just go to homefrontbrands.com and go right there to look at all of our brands, see what we're up to, and all of that. Got a brand new website coming out in about 30 days now. So excited for people to go to homefrontbrands.com. And then if you want a free copy of my book, Discernment, which is the business athlete's regimen for a great life through better decisions, go to my Instagram. It's just Jeff Dudan, JeffDudan. And there's a link down there. And if you just give us your email address and your phone number immediately, and I mean like lightning fast, like magic, you will get an electronic copy of my book delivered to your email. So you don't have to buy it.
It's awesome.
Nice.
It's called Discernment.
Discernment. It's the business athlete's regimen for a great life through better decisions. It's a compilation of stories and models of thought, really about when you're faced with an inflection point or a tough decision, just really sharing my experience about all the decisions that I made along the way from the time that I was born until today, to tie it back into how we started.
Just what we need, Dana.
I love the title. I love that. Discernment's like one of my favorite words. So love that. Awesome. Okay. My last question. We always ask these are questions John Maxwell taught us. Jeff, what are you right now learning and or reading that we might be into?
Oh, what am I reading right now? I've got so much. I'm reading Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time now.
Yeah. He coaches my husband.
Does he?
Yeah. Okay. He's very intense. I told Linda he's very intense, but Adam loves him. He has made a huge impact in Adam's business growth over the last year.
Oh yeah. Well, can I get a referral, because I was trying to get in touch with Dan and about coaching. So
yeah, I will. Yes, we'll connect after this. And he's got Adam doing this. Linda, I haven't even told you about this, but the craziest cleanse, y'all, that you have ever heard of in your life. I mean, it is insane. Adam did not even need no pounds to lose and lost 14 pounds in I think it was 16 days is how long the cleanse is. But then you go back to my husband, Jeff, is crazy worker outer, very fit, very in shape. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And he has it is next level. And now he's eating the craziest stuff you've ever seen. But he said he's never felt better. He's now he's building on more muscle. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know. Anyway.
You know what, Dana? Hold off on that intro. I'm not sure I need that.
I was just going to say, you might not want that now,
sure about that. I think I'll stick to my smoothies.
Just tell him you're interested in connecting with him, but not about the cleanse.
Not on the cleanse. Yeah, hey, not on the cleanse.
If I have to. Who Not How has made a big Dan Sullivan book. I did a podcast this morning. So here's my day so far. I did 2 hours and 15 minutes of training to 19 new franchisees at 8:00 this morning. Then I had Tom Rowland on my podcast right before this for an hour and 20 minutes. He was a fishing guide, saltwater experience, really television show for 19 years, over 1,000 podcast episodes.
Wow, Linda, Jimmy will have to listen to that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I popped right into this. So,
nice.
But actually Tom Rowland, interesting, hasn't been in coach, but brought up Who Not How. So I think that book is really, and then honestly, I go back and I check in with Discernment. You can find it on Amazon. You can get it for free.
Yeah.
But
Perfect.
Nice.
Those would be the 3 things that I'm reading right now.
That's awesome. Okay, one last question. Who do you know that Dana and I should know?
Maybe Tom Rowland too.
I'm rolling, yeah.
Let's see. Real estate.
And yeah, we do live too. So we've had some really great. We've had Chris Voss on our podcast. We've had Dr. Henry Cloud. We've had Dan Sullivan. We have some pretty authentic, amazing business people. So
yeah, have you had Vern Harnish on?
we have not, but he would be a great one. Do you know him?
Yeah, he was really good. I don't know how we got him, but like he came on. So, but that would be one. Yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind for your show.
That's
He'd
awesome.
be great to have, Linda. Jeff,
Yes.
we'll have to drop your name.
Okay, he probably doesn't remember me, but you can send him a link to the episode to remind him that he was on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sounds good. We'll do whatever we can. Well, Jeff, thank you. We appreciate it. It was I always thought it was very interesting to get meet you at Dean's program a few weeks ago. So enjoyed our conversations, and I just felt so excited to have another person that understood how to work with franchisees in the room. I couldn't ask him enough questions because trust me, it's very seldom that I find anyone who leads franchisees, right? And so you want your franchisees to win at the highest level, but it's really hard to find a community of anybody that understands that, because most people don't have franchisees that I hang out with. So we appreciate you today. We will definitely download your book. And remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and hit that now. And the greatest compliment you could pay Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anyone that you think that would enjoy these conversations. And if you have a comment, an opportunity, a challenge, or a question, or a guest for our podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Jeff, thank you so much. And Dana, I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Yes. Thank you, Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Dana. Nice to see you, Linda.
You too, Jeff.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.